Let me start by thanking the World Bank, who have been our very good partners in progress. And I want to just walk a little bit back in time, in 2004, when we very aggressively started to address the energy sector. We started with the Energy Sector Recovery Project. Then that gave birth to KEEP, the Kenya Expansion Electricity Project. And as we speak now, we have the last child, and hopefully not the last born, but just the next child to KEEP. That is Kenya Electricity Modernization Program, which is addressing several challenges. One of the challenges that KEMP is addressing is the strength, the financial strength of Kenya Power by guaranteeing with about $200 million, which will facilitate Kenya Power and Lighting to access about $500 million to reorganize their balance sheet and even to improve their cash flows by reducing their financial costs. That is basically by paying off some of the high-ed loans and getting cheaper loans so that they can be able to improve their cash flows. The next program is addressing the 11U protection, which is a very important task for Kenya Power so that they can be able to meet their obligations to their suppliers and providers, especially of the product that they deal with. And that is $40 million. And then again, they have $50 million to address a very important aspect of the power system, and that is the reliability of electricity supply, which is a very topical and a very prevalent subject of discussion by Kenyans. That is the quality, reliability of power supply. Then finally, a very new product, $160 million in the name of the Last Mile project. Part of it to go to the off-grid, that is areas which are not served by the grid, so that we can be able to address challenges of the quality of life by all Kenyans, establish socio-equity in the areas which are far away from the grid. This project is being undertaken in a very different model, very different framework, not the same as what the connectivity has been undertaken in the past. Historically, Kenya Power has been connecting electricity customers as they pay. You make an application for electricity supply. After you have paid, you are connected without cognizance of whether your neighbor also requires that supply. And what this last mile connectivity project has done is to appreciate the fact that every Kenyan requires electricity supply to style up the standard of living. After you are connected, those who can be able to pay, they pay 15,000. Those who cannot be able to pay, there is a facility, there is a steamer loan so that they can be able to pay progressively as they use electricity supply. I think that is a real paradigm shift in terms of how the connection is done and also in terms of how customers pay for electricity.
So what is this project doing? The PS just gave us quite a nice overview of the project. But in fact, it's a total project which is about $457 million US dollars. And you have a $250 million IDA credit, And then you have an IDA guarantee for about 200 million and a grant of $7.5 million from the Strategic Climate Fund to scale up a renewable energy program. So what is interesting is that it's a mix of financing package. On the one hand, we support infrastructure in energy. On the other hand, we provide guarantee to support KPLC financial situation and make sure that KPLC is able to provide services to all the clients at a lower price and maintain financial sustainability. So that is the innovation in the product. I understand that we are targeting with this first operation about 125,000 households throughout Kenya. My plea, and I know it's a bit of a difficult one, is really make sure that you really target the poorest people, those that really need to have access to electricity. And I'm thinking more and more about those counties bordering the northern region of Kenya, for which, if you put electricity there and if you put road there, you can completely transform those regions. And I think it is a time for us all collectively to really think about how we work in those marginalized counties and how we get them to a different level so that they are completely integrated into the Kenyan economy.
This project has come about as a result of the challenges we have experienced in the energy sector, whereby KPLC was unable to continue with connectivity program without subsidies from the government. And I remember about 1.5 years ago, we have been providing about 2.7 billion just to ensure that we subsidize connection of household to keep the price at 35,000 shilling, which ought to have been over 70,000. The project is as a result of a sectoral consultation, which culminated in a report that recommended a paradigm shift in the way connectivity is done. The objective of this project is to strengthen the entire electricity sector to enable it to play its key role of providing reliable electricity for social and economic development. The PS has highlighted the key objectives of the project. Let me just again go through some of the components of the project, and I'll start from one. About $200 million will be used for IDA guarantee that is expected to enable KPLC to raise $500 million financing for investment in the distribution expansion. This component will restore KPLC to a healthy financial position and enable it to effectively play its key role of supporting the entire electricity sector. Secondly, there is a revenue protection component which has $40 million to support KPLC in collecting all revenues that support the entire sector, including independent power producers who are expected to contribute over 3,000 megawatts of new power generation in the next 3 or so years. The third is delivering the electricity service reliability component, which has $50 million that will enhance KPLC's ability to deliver electricity reliably throughout the country. The last mile program requires substantial funding. The government has secured $150 million from the African Development Bank, and I can see my friend Negatu here, and remember we launched this program about 2 months ago, and we are very grateful for that support from African Development Bank. We have also received indications from other development partners, including the AFD, Danida, EIB, European Investment Bank, and JICA, that they could consider supporting the financing of the last mile. On its part, the government of Kenya continues to support extension of the grid from the exchequer. For instance, the contribution from the exchequer this financial year will be $150 million for the rural electrification program. So the government greatly appreciates the support received from the World Bank through the Kenya Electricity Modernization Program and much other support in the energy sector that the government continues to receive from the bank, including the support in the construction of the Kenya-Ethiopia line, which is going to cost $400 million, and the implementation of the Kenya Electricity Expansion Project of $300 million. This project is nearing completion. All must take full responsibility of their action to ensure that the objectives of the projects are fully met. We wish to assure of the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum and the government support in the implementation of the Kenya Electricity Modernization Program and other sector initiatives. So with those few remarks, it's now my pleasure to declare the World Bank Kenya Electricity Modernization Project officially launched.